Come.
All right, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to
Yahweh,
by
Hashem,
Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Kakodash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well and teach well. Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right, the Akim and Akwaf scattered around the four corners of the planet Earth. I'm the brother Iraq, and got the brother
The Shalom
sitting in as well. All right, and through the spirit. All right, we wanted to go into some news, into some prophecy, because there's a lot of things going on, both within the United States, right, but also globally, in the form of WW3, right, the Russians, right, the Lord, basically raising up the Russians, right, as it says in what is it, Ezekiel 38, right, Gog and Magog. All right, you got NATO news. There's so much going on, so many different points you can hit. Yep. But through the spirit, I pray that this lesson is edifying. We're gonna play a couple of clips, bring out some precepts. All right, and go from there. Is there anything, a spot you wanted to open up with, or a precept?
I wanted to pull that Wisdom Solomon.
Come on, we can start there.
Chapter 2. I'll start from the top, actually, because of everything that is going on, like the brother spoke about, with Esau thinking that he's going to win at the end, So this is the ungodly. So this is Wisdom of Solomon, 2 verse 1. It says, "For the ungodly said, Slakia." It says, "For the ungodly said, reasoning with himself, but not aright." It says, "Our lives is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy." It says, "Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave." So it shows you right there how Esau Edom, his mindset is not coming in wisdom. All right, because as we know, so far, it's like as we know, as Yahweh Shai coming back, that's how we know it through the scriptures. But Esau, his mind is on his worldly tip, and the reason why I brought that out was because of how this world is being transformed in his mindset, and how Yahweh Shai is going to come and wreck shop on that. But
could you continue to read down on that?
Verse 2, just get the full point.
Because like the scriptures say, the scriptures tell us, right, the earth was given into the hands of the wicked.
Job chapter 9, verse 24.
Right. So up to this point, Esau has had, a stronghold
in the world,
a global hegemon, right, on the planet Earth. All right, through the petrodollar, right, the control of, how energy is priced, basically, when you break it down, right, over, oil, right, because the scriptures tell us in Genesis 27, all right, he was going to be given the fatness of the earth. When you go into that word fatness, all right, we know it goes into oil, all right, and then also we know Esau's been given a sword, okay, so whether you're on the Western Hemisphere, even on the Eastern Hemisphere, you have the Russians.
Yep.
Right? You have the West and you have the East. So Edomites on this side of the world, Edomites on the other side of the world, they've been operating up until this point in tandem, okay, to basically subject the entire planet Earth. But that's coming to an end.
Yeah.
All right, according to prophecy. But you got it out.
This is Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 2. It says, "For we are born at all adventure, and we shall be hereafter as though we have never been."
Mm-hmm.
All right. It says, "For the breath in our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of the heart of our heart." You know, uh,
Right. Because when you read that, basically the ungodly, they're contemplating death.
yeah,
All right. They're contemplating death. And when you read Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, really Ecclesiastes, Solomon goes into that a bit,
deep.
right? Right, deeply
Yeah.
as to how you can gain everything there is to gain on the earth. But guess what? You still got to deal with the problem of death.
Yep.
And having to pass all the things that you inherited
over the strangers.
Over the strangers.
Yeah. That's that Sirach chapter 41, 1, 2, and 3. You know.
So if I may, Esau is basically just going into that chapter. It ties into this because Esau is hell bent on preserving his rulership, on preserving his kingdom. All right, which is contradictory with what the Lord wants, but also how He allows these societies to operate. Like America, for example, America is centered around consumerism, basically consuming all the things that Yahweh Shah gave us in the form of the earth.
And then on top of that, as he's been a consumerist, he's also a tyrant.
Right.
You know, so, but you got it.
Yeah, which turns everybody, and then that mindset trickles down, like Sirach, we always go into Sirach 10. And that mindset trickles down upon everybody.
Yep.
So all these regular, everyday people, all right, they think that they're untouchable, all right, and then they have no regard in terms of how much of the creation they utilize, and take advantage of. You know what I mean? I had a quick one. I'm gonna get this real quick, and I'm gonna play some of this video. That's cool. So Psalms chapter 140, and I'm gonna read down to verse 4. It says, "Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war." All right, and that's what we see playing out specifically in the form of, this Israel, Iran situation, which really, Israel is a proxy of the United States. So it's really the U.S., backing this whole entire operation. You got a point?
Well, just as America is trying to pass a bill to allow Israel and America's military to be, one and the same, and because they're trying real hard to pass that. So that means that whatever Israel does, America is going to be there lock, stock, and barrel. All right, but Salakia, you got it.
Nah, that's a good point. This is Psalms 140 and verse 2. It says, "Which imagine mischiefs in their heart, continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips. Selah." All right. So basically going into Esau's, his lying acts, man. His witchcraft. You got something?
No. I was going to say that Selah is talking about Mount Seir. Elder Malcolm brought that out. How whenever it says Selah, it's talking about Mount Seir. But you got it.
Con, I'm gonna play a little bit of this. I kind of want to play. Let me see.
Start from the top.
Problem. This is entirely a one-sided problem. We do not initiate dishonesty and deception when we talk to you. We don't default to manipulation and obfuscation and defensiveness or what have you. We don't do that. We relate to you from a position of good faith, which is our mistake, frankly. But that's not how you relate to us. And I've explained this many times before, why this is the case, why they are this way. It's not possible for you to relate to us that way. To relate to us or anyone else. It's not possible for you. Your culture, your so-called civilization has completely deprived you of any access to an honest approach to interaction. You're always on the attack. You're always on the defensive. You're always You're always trying to force your frameworks on any conversation, on any interaction. Every interaction for you is a vehicle for.
Yeah, and if I may, that framework is basically you can liken that to the image, but you can also liken that to the ideologies and philosophies, which are basically that's the wine. When you read about the scriptures, the wine of the wrath of fornication, right? That's going into Esau's ideologies and philosophies, right? That he imposes on everyone. All right. In order to do trade, in order to conduct business with this devil, you have to basically co-sign his
Bullshit.
His bullshit. Which is this and that's basically what this guy is saying in so many words. You know, you had precept or anything?
No.
I'm gonna play a little bit more of it and then we'll move on.
Civilizational validation and individual validation. And by validation here, what I mean is validation of your claims about yourselves, including your belief in your supremacy, your claim of your supremacy, your claim of your virtue and your goodness, and so on and so forth. That's ultimately what every interaction is about for you. No matter what the topic is, it doesn't matter what the topic is, no matter what is being discussed. Now, the purpose for you is always to secure either direct or indirect affirmation of your civilizational self-image, that it's accurate, that it's an accurate self-image. Okay? When we talk to you, from our side, the conversation is about what it's about. It's about the topic. It's about the subject matter. That's how we approach it. And we'll give you our honest take, our honest opinion about this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. We'll give you our understanding of the topic, right? We're not there trying to dominate. We're not trying to manipulate. We're not trying to win or something like this. We're not playing some power dynamic game with you. We're not trying to hide anything. We're not trying to conceal anything. But subhanAllah, with the Westerner, I'm telling you, they can't even talk about the weather without it having a subtext of self-validation.
Yep. And if I may, really, basically what he's going into is how the West and America, interact with the rest of the world, which, again, you got to think about it like this. If you constantly have to, validate yourself, right? It's really a sign of weakness.
Yep.
All right. It's a sign of weakness. And what we're seeing right now play out is basically the other nations are starting to smell blood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The situation with Iran, okay, them straight up, basically standing up for themselves, right? Defying, the world order to a certain level, right? They're inspiring these other nations. That's why the scriptures say, "Let the weak say I'm strong."
Boom. Let the weak say I'm strong.
Yeah, you got some?
I was going to pull this Psalm chapter 140.
Mhm.
Start from the top.
Yeah, I just read that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I just read that. We can read it again. Bible chat.
It's a Psalm chapter 140, verse 1. It says that to the chief musician, a psalm of David. It says, "Deliver me from." It says, "Deliver me, O Yahweh Shai, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs, and in their heart continually are they gathered together for war." All right, and yeah, Salaki. I didn't know you just read it, but because it's pretty much going into that Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 20. Going in how the least of the flock is going to draw them out and bring them into World War III. So it's all amalgamated into one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm gonna read this. You have more on that?
Nah, bro.
I don't want to cut you off.
You got it.
All right. This is Isaiah chapter 47.
Cool.
And verse 1. But really what I wanted was that shameful spewing. Was it Habakkuk 2?
Yeah.
You mind holding that if you can? Find it. I think it's Habakkuk 2 and 10. This is Isaiah 47 and 1. All right, because this dude mentioned self-image, right? In this video, right? Which I was watching another guy break down the war that's going on, right, between the U.S. or Israel and Iran, but also the Ukraine as well. Um, the reason why, first and foremost, we know that this is only going to escalate is because prophecy says so. That's for one. But also because when you think about it, Babylon the Great at this point is really fighting for their image, their identity, right? Their identity on the world stage, And the guy that I was watching was breaking down how, when you deal with a bully, right, or you deal with somebody who's used to, all right, whooping everybody ass, right? What's a threat to that particular entity or person is their identity being threatened, right? It's not even necessarily, them actually being physically moved out of the way, which is going to happen, right? But before that takes place, they're worried about maintaining their reputation. Okay. And America has a reputation of being the hammer of the earth, as the scriptures say, you know. But let me finish this out. It says, come down, Isaiah 47:1. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. It says, take the millstones, grind mill, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, and pass over the rivers, right? And that represents a change, right? A change in basically a way of life here. Okay, things are getting ready to go from bad to ugly.
That's bad to work.
All right, over here in the States. You know what I'm saying? And then that first verse, thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. People aren't looking at America as this innocent, beautiful, utopia. People aren't looking at America like that anymore.
And that started at the beginning of the year, whenever they classified slavery as being one of the worst things to ever happen on the planet Earth. And that happened to you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of Negroid descent. Then it trickled on down all the way to through this war and everything, and everybody is just, especially with the World Cup, with everybody coming over here, not realizing that this was a spot where the roads were silver and gold. Realizing that America is actually on the decline. You know, and with this going on, and them seeing it as, okay, you really have no power. You just got a lot of fucking land.
Yeah.
But you got it.
Yeah. Did you find the shoot famous
Yeah. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 16. It says, thou art filled with shame for glory. It says, drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered.
Yeah.
It says, the cup of Yahweh Shemiah Shai, the cup of Yahweh Shemiah Shai's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewings also be on thy glory.
Yep. So there's a shameful spewing happening on the glory of Esau and America. All right, that's been tarnished, and it's going to continue to be tarnished because, as the lesson I entitled the lesson, E is showing his AWS on the global stage, right? Because that's exactly what's happening, and these nations are starting to see Esau for the devil that he is, man, and it's really that simple. Is there any more?
Do you want more?
Only if it's
Like
only if there is.
I jumped to the next preset.
Bet. If not, I got another clip.
No, you got it.
Come. And I'll stop here. Stop. So I want to play this clip too because this particular clip with this guy Larry Johnson, he breaks down concisely what's going on right now between strikes being resumed between America and Iran, right? But he breaks down the what's the word I'm looking for, the the nonsense, how crazy America looks, right, conducting itself on the world stage right now, right? Because when you go into this agreement that we made with Iran, it was clearly outlined and clearly identified that what Iran did in the form of managing the strait was perfectly within their rights.
Yeah, it was justified.
Yep.
And it was put inside of the that bill passed for them to do so.
Right.
All right, and then America used that as a way to be like, look at what they're doing. I gotta strike back.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're saying in one news article is different from what they're saying over here in Babylon the Great.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. What you got?
Yep.
I mean, because Israel is trying to really keep their war going, right? Israel is trying to uh, supersede what Iran can do, you know. But you got it. Like,
to do it, and it's doing it.
What's your assessment about the situation for the economy? I mean, the strait at the moment, as far as I didn't hear that it is closed again. The Iranians, it is, as far as I know, didn't announce that nobody can pass through. But do we know how many ships are going through now? How much is that in comparison to before the war?
Yeah, it's still not up. It's still not up to pre-war levels. Right now, they're going through the strait on the Iranian channel. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ships headed out, and I count 1, 2, 3 headed in. So the small activity, and those that are headed out are one is called the Iolcus Ambition, which is a bulk carrier, and that's going reportedly to Oman. I got the Yaran, which is a container ship. Destination is not available. The Berg 1, how about that? That's a crude oil tanker. It's going to Singapore. So you got, let's see, what's this one? The Jan.
Okay, so that's all I wanted on that. You got a precept or anything?
I was going to go into this Job chapter 18. You know, this is Job chapter 8, verse 10. It says, the snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. It says, terrors shall be made, terrors shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. You know, going into whenever he went over there to attack Iran again, you know, he was doing that out of fear, or the small hats was doing that out of fear. All right, because they're afraid of what is going to happen after this the after Iran gets back on their feet. You know that they're in disarray right now. If
Yeah, Iranians came out of the situation more powerful.
Yep.
They come out of the situation demonstrating that they can control the strait.
Mm-hmm.
And not only can they control the strait, they can toll and tax
whoever they want,
these other nations for using it.
Because the thing that the guy was talking about at first, another way for them to go is that's why they got the Shias or the Sunnis outside of what was that spot that was being attacked uh, by the Israelis earlier this year. Um, they were being attacked because
the Houthis.
Yeah, the Houthis is Iran.
That's Yemen.
Oh,
yeah.
And the Shiites, the other Muslims. Dang man, it's slipping my mind.
You gotta look it up.
But
is there more on the Job 18?
Well, there's always more on the Job 18. But I just wanted to say because they cleared out that way so they can make that into another lane for traffic, you know, on the Israeli side. You know, man, it'll come back to my life.
Okay, yeah. Bible shop fine. Yes. I got a precept.
Bible shop.
This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 10. It says, "Beat your plowshares," or I'm gonna start up. Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. Well, while you find that, this is Joel 3 and 9. It says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles." All right. "Prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, and let them come up." And that's happening. All right. You had a NATO summit today, right? You have the situation with Russia getting more intense. All right. The Ukraine continuing to strike deep, you know, and provoke Russia. You know what I'm saying? Did you find what you looked for?
Yeah, it was the Palestinians. You know, they was trying to clear out the Palestinians to make that into another strait. You know, to move traffic. You know, and because
did you find like some information?
That's who they were attacking beforehand.
Okay.
You know, they cleared out the Palestinians so they can create that into a strait, so they don't have to go to the Strait of Hormuz or to Egypt, the Nile, for trade. They wanted to have their own.
Okay.
But you got it.
This is Joel 3 and 9. It says, "Proclaim me this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up." It says, "Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, and let the weak say, I'm strong." All right. "Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen. Gather yourselves round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord." Right. Verse 12, it says, "Let the heathen be awakened and come into the valley of Yehoshaphat, for there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about." And that kind of goes into what you're talking about with the Palestinian situation, because we know Israel is trying to establish the Greater Israel Project, which when you go into the weeds of the Greater Israel Project, they're trying to claim
parts of Lebanon.
They're trying to claim from the Nile to the Euphrates.
Yep.
They're using Genesis 15, right, where the Lord promised Abraham from the Nile to the Euphrates as the chosen land. They're using that as justification for these conflicts.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to gather all the nations to the Middle East to fight this war.
Yeah, in the Valley of Jehoshaphat.
Yep.
You know, because all of the lands they're trying to take it by force. You know, and they don't have the power to do so themselves. That's why they're going to bring their big brother in, which is America, to fight for them. You know, but America doesn't have, you know, power in their own hands. You know, but you got it.
Come. I'm gonna play this clip. All right, because now I want to touch on some NATO news. All right, because we know according to the scriptures, um, NATO is going to fall apart. NATO is going to dissolve. All right, and NATO stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and is basically um, it's the seven heads and the 10 horns that the scriptures talk about. All right, when you read Revelation 13, all right, and other chapters. All right, it's a military alliance that basically the West and the United States have been using to keep Russia at bay. Okay, but Russia is actually finding out and figuring out that they can easily defeat NATO. All right, and a matter of fact, the Ukraine war is actually giving Russia a strategic advantage for when full blown conflict actually arises because they're gaining that experience now.
And with that, in the Ukraine war, NATO is afraid that as Russia's attacking Ukraine, they can strategically attack other lands around Ukraine. But you got it.
Yep, there's a scripture where it talks about well, the scriptures say like you don't trust or a prince that trusts in chariots.
Princess Trust the Chariots.
Let me see if I can find it. Right, because the whole thing about NATO is on paper, NATO looks swole as hell.
Yeah.
Right, an idea, it sounds like a great ass idea, but when you listen to some of these analysts and they break down, right, the nitty gritty on NATO, it's pretty much a consensus that it's a highly unorganized operation. You got different nations using different technology, different equipment, right? They might have some crossover here and there, all right, but they're speaking different languages, right? They have different cultures, and the Lord didn't create people to be unified like that. The Lord is a separatist, all right. So just more doesn't mean better. That's the thing too. More does not mean better. When you go into the history and you read about Alexander the Great, you read about Napoleon, you read about some of these great conquerors. When they started off, it wasn't about numbers. It was about the cohesiveness of their army, all right, and the various tactics and things that they employed. It had nothing to do with numbers, all right. Which and these nations know the history. Okay, so again, Yahweh Shem Shai is putting the spirit on these nations to rise up and to fulfill His will, which is basically to gather them into the valley, Yahweh Shabbat.
Yep. Valley of Decisions.
Yep.
Take away from this. Responses. We have nations with
Yep. Let me get some real quick. You have anything? I'll read this. All right, just going into what he's talking about. All right, because like that's a major deal, man. Like that's not a light thing, man. A dude saying, and it's not just him.
Nope.
All these other military analysts, McGregor, right, Larry Johnson, all these various guys, right, and they talk about NATO. They only echo what the scriptures already say is gonna happen.
Yep. Like this is Revelation chapter 17, verse 16.
Yeah, that's what I was about to read. Yep.
Gun. This is Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou seest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire."
Boom.
You know?
Yep. And the flesh is the land.
Yeah, the land.
People.
You know? And how are they going to do that? Through those thermonuclear missiles. You know, those things that were so called in museums, nah, they're about to be used. You know? And it also makes you think of how Trump is more stout than his fellows. All right, because even back in his first presidency, he was trying to show his bravado. You know, trying to say that America is strong all around, even though it's iron mixed with miry clay. You know, it's weak on its edges. You know, it's weak in the center, but it still has body to prop it up.
Yep.
You got it.
Trump is swagged up.
Yeah.
Trump is swagged up, and he's bugged out, and he's wilding out, and all these other nations are starting to see it.
Yeah, because they see his what's that, dementia. He, you know, they're viewing him as the person that he is, and they're seeing him for all his flaws.
Doing a great job,
You know, doing a bang up.
Because all this is going to do is fulfill prophecy.
Kind.
Right? While these people are, you know, thinking that everything's going to just continue on the way that it has been, right? Everything's going to work itself out, be all right. No, everything's not going to be all right. Matter of fact, this place is actively being ran into the ground.
Kind. You know, and he is the demolition guy to do so.
Boom.
Because he has ran every company that he had into the ground. All right, and now he's the president over a major company that's going to be ran into the ground.
Yep.
It's just hilarious.
Yep, America's about to be liquidated.
You know, hey,
like when you go to
you got it.
You know, like when a store about to close down and everything is on sale, everything on clearance.
Everything must go 90% off.
America's been sold out.
Yeah.
All right, and you people are the last ones to know.
Yep. By its own Senate, its House of Representatives, you know, everybody has gotten a piece of America except for the people. I wanted to read 18, you know, but let me read 17. It says, "His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street." You know, going to Esau, Edom. All right, the remembrance of him, as we read in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, you know, his remembrance is not going to stand anymore. All right, Esau, Edom about to be removed. All right, verse 18, it says, "He shall be driven from light into darkness, and chased out of the world." All right, because his time is over. You know, the next to come up is going to be Yasharallah. You know, he Prince Power, the nation of Israel. You know, they're going to rule forever, and no one else is going to be able to take them down. All right, all these heathen, they ain't going to muster together and try to take Jake down. No, because we're going to have our power with us. Y'all are going to see our power. Just like y'all were worshiping y'all's gods, we get to see our power in the flesh. But you got it.
Is there any more on that?
Oh, this verse 19, it says, and shall never have son nor nephew among his people, nor any remaining in his dwelling. All right, because the son and the nephew, they can bring forth that
Future
kingdom
generation.
again,
Yep.
to a whole other generation. But that's going to be done away with.
Mm.
All right, verse 20, it says, "They that come after him shall be astonished at his day, and as uh, they that went before him were affrighted." So like, yeah,
You can like that to other nations. You say what?
affrighted. 20 last word.
Yep, affrighted.
Affrighted.
Mhm.
So the ones that come after his fall, they're gonna be like, God damn, man, we messed up.
Yeah.
Verse 21, and this is the last verse. It says, "Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of his, it's like, of him that knoweth not Yahweh." All right, so they don't know Yahweh by Shemiel Shai, because their pineal glands is calcified at the age 13. All right, they have no way to have understanding of Yahweh by Shemiel Shai, but the elect, they're going to be able to step up and flourish. But you got it.
Come on. We'll play a little bit more of this and we can close it out.
No.
That's the spirit, man. That shows you how much of a devil Esau is. The fact that these U.S. weapons manufacturers and the military industrial complex, they use NATO as basically a sales expo.
Yep.
So they, so these nations are literally, and it's funny because Trump will get in the media and he'll complain about
How they're not paying their dues.
right how they're not paying their dues,
Yeah.
and the U.S. is the one financing
Yeah.
everything. But guess what? The money that you're giving them, they're turning around and they're just buying fucking U.S. weapons. They're just buying our weapons.
Yep.
So it just shows you how corrupt and
They-
how backwards this shit is, man.
So like they wanted it on two fronts. That they wanted you to give them money and then buy their weapons at the same time. That don't make sense. You got it. Damn. Damn.
I real risk.
And that's um, the elite, the ones at the top. They're very aware, and this is all calculated. That's something we can't forget either.
Mm-hmm.
The CHIP, the MOTB being established is going to come from global crisis, problem, reaction, solution. So this war that we're seeing, the way that it's affecting the supply chain, all right, the way that it's affecting people's everyday lives has to get worse. in order for them to be able to cause it all,
Boom.
as it says in Revelation 13 and 16.
Yeah.
You know, so we're getting closer day by day. You know, we see Yahweh Shemel Shai putting in work.
Yep.
You know, bringing this thing to a close. You got anything?
Psalms chapter 119, verse 126. It's time for you, O Yahweh Shemel Shai, to work, because they have made void thy law. And that's why I said boom, bro, because that's the point right there, bro. You know, everything has to come to a head in order for people to accept this next thing to come. But you got it.
Con. Hey, well, I'm gonna close it there. Put a bookmark on that. Lord's willing, this lesson was edifying to brothers that tuned in. I want to again give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors also to the elders and apostles that rule well and teach well. Shalom to the next lesson.
Shalom and shalom.